Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me make sure everything is working. I think it is. Uh, today, today is it's just a check. Forgot to do a sound check before I started. Today is the question: what's going on? Is the 4-year cycle dead for Bitcoin? What are the whales up to? What are the treasuries up to? What are the ETFs up to? How will it all shake out? What's happening in the macro world? And is this a slow grind to $1 million? Or the end of the 4-year cycle? Let's get into the story. And before I do, thank you as well to Sean D in the chat and K8 and everybody else. I appreciate you all being here. And of course, never financial advice, just a guy on the internet. And a big thank you to everybody on Patreon as well. This is from Chewy. Hey, Chewy, our favorite mad scientist. Unlikely for any AI to ever replace you, James. It's not your brains, but your kind generosity to work daily for us all and charge a silly low sum for Patreon. Don't be silly. Thank you all. And thank you, Chewy, for all you do in the community as well. Let's jump into the monthly returns. This is where we are so far. Now, I've got little green boxes around the analog for where we are today. So the typical returns for September. Bitcoin's up 4% already in the month of September after a 6% negative August. Normally, Rectember is bad, but now everybody's saying it's going to be good. Yes, it will, because it's Bitcoin and because this time is different and so much more stuff here about to see. Crazy. First of all, let's look at money. Let's check in with Bitcoin versus the global M2 money supply in yellow. It's up and to the right. Bitcoin is lagging and it will catch up. The more money there is flushing around the system, the more it rises all boats, just like everything else in nature. Let's check in on US M2 as well. US M2 is at a new all-time high, $22.3 trillion. Remember, a lot of people saying, oh, wow, the NASDAQ valued is now 1.45 times the size of US M2 money supply. It doesn't matter, okay? It's a new record high in that perspective. But remember, money is debasing. We'll talk a little bit more about debasing in a little while too. And then speaking of debasing, let's check in on US debt. This is the stuff that's rattling all the fiat around the world. It's up $3.1 trillion in a year. US debt is now $37.3 trillion. And forget the debt per citizen stuff. You got to look at the debt per taxpayer, because only 50 million people pay any sort of tax whatsoever that's in any way significant. The rest don't matter. The other 300 million people are dependent on the system. And even worse, those that do pay all the tax, it's only a spit in the bucket because they spend much more than it could ever happen. So with that stage set, what's happening next? Well, everybody's asking, is the 4-year cycle over? As you get closer to the end of when it should end, this is the hottest debate raging right now across everywhere you look. We're all going to die. This is it. Game over. All-time high hit, etc. Or, no, 4-year cycle's over. It's not. It's different again this time. So we'll see. Let's have a look at a couple of things. This is probably one of the biggest influencers as to why it is different this time, from Michael Askew. And this is a map of what Bitcoin did since 2014 to 2024, when January 2024, they issued the Bitcoin ETFs. You can see massive spikes, massive volatility, etc. And the post-ETF era is quiet. And even though that looks quiet, that's still pretty solid gainers for us since the ETFs launched. But again, these are two entirely different assets. You got the before ETF and the after ETF. It's like BCAD, whatever they call. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to get into that as well. But the days of parabolic bull markets may be over. And it might just be a slow grind to $1 million from here, which is also fine too. But sometimes volatility is vitality, isn't that what they say? But let's look at where we are. Another view of how flat things have been so far in this bull run. This white line is the current epoch number 5. It's like a medical flat line compared to the previous cycles, but we are getting close to the end if history repeats. And that would be the big spike in about 60 days that happened in the blue cycle. Blue is Epoch 3, which is the one that's most similar to this one. But again, no volatility. Now that we have all that, we got the Fiat disaster out of the way, the debt disaster out of the way. In fact, this video today is going to become the debt time bomb, but I actually got so depressed putting all the material together. I just couldn't deliver that video. It is nasty out there on the macro side. So I decided to pivot to a happier story, which is Bitcoin. Now, the bears say the ETF flows have stopped. Nope, they haven't. All right. Just last week, ETFs bought 4 times the supply that's being issued. And they bought 1,500 Bitcoin yesterday as well. So again, the ETF flows have not stopped. Yes, there was one negative day, but that happens every now and again. And in the middle of August, there's a couple of negative days. And yeah, that can happen too, especially when the hedge funds get in and get out. And that's what you're seeing there. The rest of the people that buy these ETFs, they tend to be retirement accounts, pension funds, etc. They buy and hold. It's the hedge funds that do the trading. And another explanation of exactly what's happening, not just the ETFs buying 4x the supply, but treasuries and businesses are buying Bitcoin too. Businesses around the world have 6.2% of the global Bitcoin supply. By the way, that's based on a number that doesn't actually exist, nearly 20 million Bitcoin. Public companies that hold Bitcoin, 158 of them, and they are growing like crazy. Remember, there are millions of companies around the world. Just 158 public companies hold Bitcoin. And the amount that they're buying per day so far in 2025 is 1,755. You got the ETFs now buying, even a down week, 1,500 a day. And the Treasuries buying 1,755 a day. Add those together, that's nearly 8 times daily issuance. So what's going on? And I keep getting this question. It's like, why are we not going up? Why is number not going up? I want my Bitcoin money back. Well, this is one of the reasons. This is from David Bailey. He's from Nakamoto CEO. He said, if it wasn't for 2 whales dumping a lot of their Bitcoin, we'd be at 150K right now. And he talks about they are selling their holdings to buy something called Ethereum or something. I'm not sure what Ethereum, hard word to say is. But these massive liquidations totaling 2.7 billion and 4 billion on the way down have caused a bit of a problem. And again, we see Bitcoin holdings surge past $400 billion across just 300 companies. And 2 whales have created the downward pressure that broke the key 110K level of support. But not for long, because we're now at 112,250. So again, even with all the dumpage from the whales, we're still not down that bad. And we have people like Arthur Hayes and Tom Lee still project 250K by year end. Dave Bailey says 150K. We would be there if it wasn't for these 2 whales dumping their bags and buying Ethereum. If anybody can help me pronounce that word, Ethereum. It runs at 14 TPS. Anyway, trying to be funny here. It's not working. Anyway, whales. Let's look at the on-chain data to support David Bailey's theory to see if it is correct or not. And technically, they see here, this is the pink part. This is the average holdings for entities with 100 to 10,000 Bitcoin. Just dropped to 488 Bitcoin. Okay, that is the lowest since 2018. And basically here, we have gone way beyond. I remember I falsely said, and I'll eat this. I said a few months ago, the whales they've sold about 70% of what they normally sell. Now, where we are today, because those 2 whales dropping large bags, we are now technically in an oversold position. Whales never sell all their bags. So if you have a winning asset, just a quick reminder here, everybody, if you have a winning asset, you do not dump it all. Always keep some. You can take a little bit of profit and then try buy back in later cheaper, but never, ever dump all of your winning asset. Because one day you could wake up 10 years from now, 20 years from now and say, oh my God, I had a Bitcoin. Yeah. I took profits to buy back in cheaper. That never happened. I lost it. If I just held that one Bitcoin, My grandchildren would all be multimillionaires. Anyway, just something like that to think about. You see this case happen with people that hold stocks for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years. They don't do anything with it. They just hold it. And it becomes very, very much life-changing. Anyway, the point of this chart here is the pink is technically way oversold. We are now more oversold than we were in 2018. So forget the last cycle. The whales have dumped more than the previous cycle, and we are at a low since 2018. But let's get back to the story. What is going to happen next? So we discovered, well, it's not very volatile. It's very different to the other cycles. Things happen faster, like we broke a new all-time high before the halving. Its ETFs are here. It's a bona fide asset. It's eating the world. What's going to happen? Is the 4-year cycle dead? Well, here is one theory. Bitcoin's path to $1 million per token may unfold more gradually and with less drama than many market members anticipated. And this is from Plan C, friend of the channel. What if from here, Bitcoin simply slow grinds up and to the right with a long, boring, drawn-out, uneventful 10% to 25% corrections and consolidations that instead of just grinding slowly upward to $1 million over the next 5 years or so, it could be boring and underwhelming. But again, that's also fine. We'll see where we go. But a little bit of bad news, though. And I always stress this as well. Samson Mao, he says, alas, 1 million is not that much. And it was a cute little meme of one cat hitting another over the head. It's probably the cat on the left, I think, is thinking, oh, $1 million is a lot of money. But in 5 years, it's not going to be a lot of money. Just a quick reminder here on how much they printed, $3.1 trillion in just a year. Okay, that's the debasement factor. And Bitcoin, as Samson says, isn't $1 million in Bitcoin isn't that much given all the monetary monkey business going on for the last few decades. Monetary monkey businesses have one more check-in on monetary monkey business. There it is. So it's kind of funny. So even though, yes, $1 million is significant, in the future, it won't be. And then 10 years from now, $10 million will be like, I don't know, $3 or $4 million. In 5 years, $1 million will be worth about 550K, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. Anyway, it'll be a lot more than what other people have. But then, time for the Hopium Hit of the day. Who's ready? Please be seated. Seatbelts on. This is the dollar heart attack, the $12 trillion Fed crisis. This is flying around. And by the way, I have to say that Forbes sometimes are a little bit, how do I say, exaggerated in their articles. So take this with a massive big grain of salt. But there are problems happening on the Fed side. So that is kind of in part true. And we did fall back from that recent rally, but they say that the Bitcoin price is up almost double from this time last year. And with Bitcoin braced for $20 million to $28 million of daily buying pressure, some think this new flow could create the new Rockefellers or Rothschilds and drive Bitcoin to a $2 million price. Not 1 million in 5 years, but 2 million pretty fast. Remember, once the whales stop selling, off to the races. Dave Belly, 150K. We should be there now. But let's go back and see what else is happening. More data to back up that, yes, while fiat is dying, Bitcoin shows no signs of life. There is no volatility. And people freak out and say, oh my God, we shot up to 124K and fell down to 108K. And it's like, oh, we're all going to die. It's like, that's nothing compared to what we've been through in the past. It's a nothing burger, which we enjoy here on this channel, nothing burgers. We make fun of nothing burgers all the time. But what I have been talking about, I spoke more about gold in the last 7 days than probably in my entire life, because what it's doing is nothing short of amazing. And why we care? Because fiat is dying. This is a cool chart as well. It's from Andrei Dragos. And he says this chart is somewhat terrifying. I call it the dollar gold implode. Boom. There she rode. We hit $3,600 yesterday. I was watching the chart late last week and watching it over the weekend and watching it early this week. It just looks so strong. But remember, it's not gold that's strong. It's people are shedding their fiat bags and they are throwing it into whatever hard thing that they can find. That's what's happening. That's what this chart indicates. We have never, ever seen such a growth and explosion in gold ever. By the way, this chart is inverted. Just so you know, I forgot to mention that too. But we think of the dollar as the piece that's tanking. And that's a great way to look at pairs. Just invert it, and then you can understand it much better. So I took that same pair chart and decided to do it for Bitcoin versus the dollar. And here we are. And it's even more dramatic, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Zeno, good to see you in here. And B-Tards are us. And KBM Addict. And a big thank you once again to Sean D, Cat with a K, K8, and everybody else. This is Bitcoin Dollar Implosion. By the way, the yellow parts are bear markets. The blue is where Bitcoin smokes the dollar, with, of course, little undulations and volatilities. But going back to my theme that this volatility is now gone, yeah, we're not seeing many more of those big dips anymore, but we are seeing the acceleration of the demise of the dollar, which for those macro experts, we're going to talk about that right now. First of all, more printing is coming in the US. Literally $100 billion on tap, 4-week Treasury bill sale. And because the government cannot sell this paper, this debt, nobody wants it. If they try sell a 5-year, 10-year piece of paper, it's going to cost them way over 5%, and they can't afford the coupon on that. So they're issuing short-term paper. $100 billion slugs, $100 billion slugs, $100 billion slugs. Who's going to sign up for these things? I certainly won't. Anybody here want to buy some fiat paper? Want to buy some of this good stuff? Or this? Anybody? Takers? Yeah, no. And it's almost so easy. Like you could throw a dart and pretty much you can be rest assured that Bitcoin's going to win against fiat. Also, the other thing is happening to fiat too, which is related to all the debt. We are built on a world of debt. Bond yields across the world are exploding, in many places above 5%. Okay? The governments can't afford to pay this, and nobody else is taking any less. Whether you look at Japan or the US or the UK or the ECB, it's ugly out there. And shout out to our friends in the UK. UK 30-year government bond yields, scary face. They are higher than they've been since 1994. Okay. Highest ever. The cost to fund the British government is the highest it's been since 1994. I wish it said 1984 because it's so Orwellian, as with everything that's happening in the world. I thought it would have been profound, and I tried to, couldn't. Anyway, we can nearly pretend it is 1984 because that's what's happening in the world today. This is scary. If you're running the Treasury or your Chancellor, whatever they call them in the UK, running the purse strings, ugly. And yes, why do we care about fiat dying? Because it's good for our hard bags. Bitcoin's good. Ethiopia. This is just the depreciation of their currencies since 2024. Okay. In 2024, January to August 2024, Ethiopia down 94%. In Nigeria is down 78.6%. Egypt down 57.9%. Ghana down 30.6%. Mexico 15%. Brazil 15%. And Brazil used to be an awful lot worse, by the way. Shout out to our friends in Brazil. Turkey, which used to be a complete poop show, is no longer the worst, only down 14.3%. Angola, 7.4%. Colombia and Chile are there too. But again, scary, scary times. Very scary times to be a fiat bag holder. Don't hold it. And two other little tidbits of news as well. Crypto adoption is faster than the internet. Why? How could it possibly be faster? That's the question you have to ask yourselves. It's like, are people like, oh, this crypto stuff sounds really interesting and fun? No, they are adopting it because you look at the crypto adoption in these countries, they're off the charts. They adopt it not because it's new and sexy. It's because it's a life raft, because their fiat is going to nothing. That is the message here. That's why crypto adoption, if you look at the line here, this is from our friends at GMI, Raul Paul and gang. Adoption is outpacing internet growth. 1 billion users are expected by 2025 and 4 billion by 2030. What's important about the number 4 billion? That's half the planet. We're entering the beginning of the S curve. Once you get beyond 5% adoption, straight up. I shouldn't have done that because I might get in trouble for putting my hand in the air. Like I don't care, which I don't care. Anyhow, Bitcoin, another piece of good news, is now 2% of all global money. And it's going to grow because all the other global money, despite how much they can actually print, is going to melt away. And gold is in there, 22.7 trillion, Bitcoin 2.3 trillion, US dollar 21 trillion, yen 9 trillion, others $11.6 trillion worth of trash, Chinese yuan 35 trillion. The Chinese are good at those money printers. I think they developed some new Chinese money printer technology where they can do it faster than anybody else. Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, American Beijing. I like that. Legendary. What's the meme? Legendary or something as well. Thank you for that, Mr. P. Appreciate it. And the final note, after me getting too excited about the demise of fiat, because we've talked about it for a long time and expected it, now it seems to be accelerating, especially in certain countries around the world. But meme of the day, and literally, there's people in my network that are like the person here with the black hair. I like inflation. It's good for the economy. And the other guy, the Bitcoiner, I like inflation. The end of the dollar is near. Yeah, those people with the hard assets will be fine. Your friends that don't have them, you're going to have to bail them out. Back to life. Hope you all got smarter today. Thank you. Sorry for pivoting hard into the macro elements of this, but remember, everything is connected. Okay? Everything in the world, everything is connected. Remember that, and you'll be able to understand it far better. I want to say a big thank you once again to the mods chats, B-Man, Angle Blackson, DBF 430. Long time no see. QC Coiner. I always want to know if you're in Quebec. I think you must be. Zeno, KPM Addict, Donald Craig Harris, Swiping No Swiping, Sir Winston, and Invested. That was the Bitcoin show today. But let's check on the Bitcoin price. Still 112,200, but it's way off 107K where it was just, how many days ago was that? September, right? The end of August, 4 days ago. It's coming off the bottom, and we like that. Thanks all. Have a good night. Bye. See you tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow, by the way, I'm doing an AI impact with one of my favorite AI experts. And we're going to talk about something that does also impact Bitcoin too, and AI, and inference, and how everything would change our worlds. Stay tuned for that. Thank you. Bye.